Good afternoon, good fellas, and welcome back to Ask Tony Tuesday. If you don't know the answer, Tony probably does. So today we have two questions for you, as usual. Before we begin, how are you today?
Good, you?
I'm okay. A little bit
Just
full.
okay?
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay.
The first question we have today is, what causes stone to stain?
Okay. Well, it all depends on the stone. The tighter the grain in a stone, the more dense the material is, the much harder it is to stain. Let's say like an absolute black, which is a solid black. It usually comes from India. It originally used to come from Africa. Anything now that's a solid black, real deep black, is pretty much sold as absolute black. But it's a really dense material. It's actually so dense that, the average weight of a square foot of granite is 27 pounds. But because the absolute black is so dense, it's almost 30 pounds per square foot because it's that much denser. So a material that's really dense, a granite that's really dense, will be much harder to stain, especially a darker stone like an absolute black, which is solid black. The lighter the stone, the more susceptible it is to staining, especially when it has a lot of mica and stuff like that. It tends to be a little bit softer stone. So the softer it is, the easier it is to stain. Especially like marbles, limestones, quartzites that are like the whiter variety out of Brazil. They tend to be a little bit, actually a lot easier to stain. And what happens is, stone is a living thing. So what we do in order to, or what the factory does in order to get a polish on a stone, is you're closing the pores of the stone. Everything has pores. So you're closing the pores of the stone until it reflects light. That's the polish. There's no artificial polish or wax on it. So what happens is sometimes those pores are a little bit open, or depending on the material. The less dense it is, the pores are a little bit open. So what happens is, when a liquid, maybe like a tea, a coffee, especially an oil, when that soaks into the pores of the stone, that could create a stain. So what happens is, when we seal something, or we use a color enhancing sealer or an impregnator, what happens is it gets absorbed into the stone. So chemically, we're closing the pores of the stone that are still open. That will repel liquid from penetrating and keep it from staining. So the more dense the material, the harder it is to stain. The softer the material, the easier it is to stain. Again, you want to avoid, you have to be careful with teas, marbles. You want to be careful with anything acidic. But it's any kind of liquid of color, like I said, coffee, tea, any kind of citrus, or any kind of like cranberry juice, anything like that that has that color in it. Red wines, if they get absorbed into a stone, you can stain it. We chemically close the pores of stone to keep that from happening. And then the maintenance of it is to do that. And depending on the stone, it'll tell you when to do it. It's not something you do every 6 months. You may never have to do it again, depending on the stone that you have.
So if you were to spill, like, say, the cranberry juice on your countertops, the best way to avoid staining would be like to clean it up right away.
Yeah, well, all sealers are made to give you time to clean up a stain, especially in oil. I mean, oil will eventually break through if you left it there long enough. So the best thing to do is you spill something, clean it up. I always relate your countertops to your car. You take care of it. You spent money on it. It was an investment. You want it to look good. Same thing with your countertops. You spend money on it, you want it to look good. If it's dirty, clean it.
Right. The second question for today is, what happens when the slab that I want is already sold?
Okay, that's a good question. So we always try to have at least 2 to 3 slabs of each color in stock. This way, some jobs only take 1 slab. A slab is typically 50 to 60 square feet. It also depends on the movement. If there's a lot of movement in a stone, you end up using more material because you're trying to keep all the grain direction going the same way. So like I said, we always try to have at least 2 to 3. If there's only 1, or maybe you have a big job, maybe we have to go into 3 or 4 slabs. what we do is then we call and we see if they have more of that lot. If they have more of that lot, then it's not a big deal. We just order more slabs that we need in order to finish the job. Sometimes it's not available. Every block of stone is different. So we may have, let's say, shadow storm quartzite outside. We probably have 5 different lots of it. And they're going to be different from lot to lot. And natural stone is like that. So you couldn't take 2 slabs from this lot and a slab from this and put them together. So it's important if you come here and you see a stone that you really love, that you put a deposit on it, because once you put a deposit on it, we tag it, it's your slab, and that's it. But to answer your question, if a stone is already sold that you like, we will make every effort to call our wholesaler, that wholesaler that has that slab, see if he has more of them. That's the easiest way. Then just ship more. We get deliveries every week. If not, then what we would do is we would take a photograph of the slabs we have, and then we would send it to all our different wholesalers, all our different suppliers, and see who has something similar that maybe the customer likes.
So don't get discouraged if the slab that you want is sold. There is other options and ways that we could possibly get something that looks just like it or similar to it.
Exactly.
But if not, there's always a ton of options.
There's plenty of options. And most people come in and, a lot of times somebody will come in with a certain stone in mind that they saw online or they saw on DIY, and once they get here, because they don't understand what's available, they will go with something completely different than what they thought they liked when they got here. So, like I said, the key is to just come in, bring your backsplash tile if you have that, your floor samples, anything you have, especially a cabinet door. That really will help you decide what you want.
Well, that's all that we have for you guys today. Thank you for tuning into this week's episode. Keep sending in your questions for us, and we will see you next week with another episode. Bye. I feel like I could
Yeah, I kind of lost train of thought in the first question.